Are you gonna do the thing?
You gotta try to kick us off with the NFC though.
Oh,
You have to
okay.
you have to like, all right, let's take a look at the first NFC matchup. The
Okay. Now, you know what? Don't even do it this time. Let's just start it that way. I like that. Like
Okay.
where I'm wondering if you're gonna do the thing. And yeah, I like this. I like this. Okay,
Okay.
so first NFC matchup is Tampa
Hey,
Bay.
but I gotta tell you, so I got this shirt on. You ever watch Christmas
Shut up.
Vacation?
Oh, nobody's gonna know what the hell we're talking about. Uh,
No,
okay,
no.
so the first, this isn't the first NFC matchup actually. Do you want to do it chronologically? Like I think we did that last time.
Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's work down.
Okay, so
Actually, we didn't. We just went from the most competitive to the least competitive game. We could do it that way.
yeah, that's kind of nah. We'll go chronologically. We'll go with the Seahawks and 49ers first. Like when I look at this game, it seems like everybody is thinking that this is pretty chalky in favor
Yeah.
of the 49ers. And as much as I crapped on Gino just a few minutes ago, like I'm not totally convinced that the 49ers are just going to roll in this game.
But they have it figured out.
I think it could be a little more competitive than people think. Where are you on this game?
Yeah, I've learned to not take my like intuition in anymore. It's all about the calculator.
Uh
And I it's another hand to it's as easy a win as the Dolphins. And that's a shame to
really?
say. Yeah,
Really?
it's it,
Wow.
49ers 26-16 is what I have.
Wow, that's wild to
So
me. That I guess it makes sense just because the 49ers have been so strong on defense and it seems like they haven't
that's
missed a
it.
beat with Brock Purdy at quarterback. Um so I get it, but there's just something about the Seahawks team, even with Geno at quarterback, even though he hasn't been like amazing, they do have a lot of injuries. Like
Hmm.
not really a ton of significant injuries, but a lot of them nonetheless. Like yeah, now Jamal
Yeah,
Adams is on IR, Joey Blunt, Jordan Brooks doesn't really matter. Will Disley, that's Will Disley is an underrated player. They
hmm
could be getting D Eskridge back. I like him at wide receiver, second year player out of one of those Michigan, I think Western Michigan. Um, but
people people generally discredit depth, but like that's important.
oh yeah,
Guys like that who I mean everybody else is sitting here thinking like, well, look at Metcalf playing. What's it matter? Like, no, Eskridge matters. Guys like Disley matter a lot to the overall game plan and scheme to how they're going to perform.
yep. Uh, Ambry Thomas is going to be out for the 49ers. That's an important secondary piece there. Uh, Trey Lance is out. Sorry, I'm just looking at the injury report here. I think everybody knew Trey Lance was out, but no. Yeah, I don't know. I
Is
do think.
Kaepernick going to play?
um, I think Steve Young might be nah. But I don't know. I agree with the calculator insofar as I think the 49ers are going to win this game. And
Yeah.
that they may even win it, convincingly, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. These two teams are very familiar with each other. What are the results of the previous two matchups? I'm curious because this is a division game, right? Division games can always be weird. Like December 15th,
20,
the 40
21-13.
yeah, 21-13 and that was with the Seahawks at home. And then in the other matchup it was 27-7 with the 49ers at home. So that one was a little
That and
more. Oh wait,
that's
no,
the piece.
that was the previous year. Sorry.
No. 27-7 was week 2.
Was it? Why does it say on Google? Oh, yeah, that's because 2022 was the previous year, wasn't
Mm-hmm.
it?
It sure was.
Yeah, usually when they put the year like on the like when they put the year by the date, it that means that it was like a season before, but apparently they've just done that because see like on October 23rd the 49ers and the Chiefs they didn't put October 23rd 2022. They only started doing that for the games before October 9th. So I don't know. That just kind of threw me off for a second. But anyway, yeah, the 49ers are better. 49ers are probably going to win. But I think that we might end up seeing a game that more resembles the December 15th game than we do a game that resembles the September 18th game.
Well, it's the playoffs. It's just the reality of this is the NFL. It's the playoffs. This is going to be the best performance for a lot of these guys, and it's going to be the worst performance for some because the pressure gets to them.
Yeah.
And so it's all about trying to figure out, like, where do you see that spreading out for a team? And say what you want. I know you don't. I think you don't think that Brock Purdy is like the guy, the answer for them now in this situation. But
I don't know. I like Brock Purdy. I do.
His confidence and his moxie,
his ability
is huge.
His ability to throw a ball into a small window with a linebacker running at 25 miles an hour right down his throat is incredible. It is incredible. He can take a hit and make a throw better than almost any quarterback I've seen the last 10 years.
His ego also doesn't seem to be getting him. Like, so there's been quarterbacks who have a guy like a Christian McCaffrey who are almost too proud to dump it off. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not too proud to really pepper McCaffrey with the targets. Same with Kittle, but there's guys who they just want to throw the deep ball. Like chicks love the long ball. But Purdy seems to be really comfortable making the smart throw and really, I don't know if the right word is, but he knows when the smart throw is the more risky or the over the middle deep or something like that. But I do like that I'm seeing him use his best playmakers great. And that's a product of Shanahan too. Shanahan's just always been good as a coach for that.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about the Seahawks, since, this is kind of our first videos, I just want people to know this is my opinion about the current construction of the Seahawks. I was talking about the Ravens and how much I like their draft from last year. I didn't love it as much at the time, but in retrospect, the Seahawks had an absolutely incredible draft. The fact that they have locked down their left tackle and their right tackle of the future, in my opinion, they've got it locked down.
Huge deal.
Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas were incredible as rookies. I don't want to say incredible. It's not like they had Tristan Wirfs levels of, rookie campaigns, but they were so good for rookie
for a
tackles.
Team that's supposed to be phoning it in. They're really good.
Yeah, and for a third round pick in Abraham Lucas's case, it is so impressive what they did. Kenneth Walker, I'm not a big fan of taking running backs early because I think you can get them late. But Kenneth Walker has looked every bit as good as advertised in college. I was more of a Breece Hall guy coming out, but Kenneth Walker has been great. I'm a big fan of what the Seahawks are doing. And I love the fact that they have 2 first-round draft picks this year. One of them is really early. The Broncos pick is really early. If they want to, they can maybe go out and get C.J. Stroud. Maybe they can trade up with the Bears to get Bryce Young. Maybe they take a chance on an Anthony Richardson, somebody like that, Will Levis. But
do you do that? Or do you just say, let's build around Geno for 2 or 3 years and then do that?
I think that I'm of the opinion, generally, I do like the idea of building a team and then going and getting your quarterback. The problem with that philosophy is that you want to make sure, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that the quarterback that you do have in the intervening period is really, really, really bad. Because the worst thing that could happen is for you to have this plan, build this team out,
get the pick.
Yeah, but your quarterback is just too good, and he ends up winning 7 to 8 games every year. You're picking 15th in the draft, and you just can't take the guy, right? So I don't know. I think if Stroud or Young is available for the Seahawks, where do they pick? I think they pick 4th, I want to say. But if C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young is available, I'd take him probably. But if you have to check down to an Anthony Richardson, Man, I still probably take him because I'm really high on Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson could be the best quarterback in the NFL if he get his tools are just out of this world. But but yeah, I don't know.
What was that athletic score that you mentioned a few weeks ago when we talked?
Relative athletic score, Kentley Platts.
How is he doing?
Well, we don't know yet because the combine hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
But once the combine comes out, I would imagine that he's going to get a 9.5 or higher because they're.
And you're a big believer in this kind of approach, this athletic score?
I think it gives you a really, really good framework into a player's upside. It doesn't necessarily tell you how good of a football player they are, but it can tell you whether or not a good football player is going to be able to elevate himself to being an elite football player. That's kind of the way I approach it anyway. And honestly, for positionally, it probably matters for quarterbacks the least. But sometimes you get a quarterback that is just so ridiculously athletic that it masks all their other deficiencies. Think of like a Cam Newton or a Lamar Jackson or somebody like that, where they just have so many tools that they, just kind of overwhelm any problems that they have at the position. But that's rare. But I do kind of think that Anthony Richardson is also really young. But anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent on Anthony Richardson. We'll talk about him whenever draft season really kicks into high gear. But he is a guy that I like, and if I were the Seahawks, I would certainly think about targeting him. He's also a guy that needs seasoning, so you could play him under Geno for a year or two, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, so let's talk about – so the calculator says the 49ers.
Right.
Okay, and we were talking about what we don't know about Skylar Thompson when we talked about the Dolphins matchup earlier and how there's just 0% chance. But we've seen a good bit of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has been good, but the way that the Seahawks likely win this game, given how good the 49ers defense is and given how balanced the 49ers have been and also how good the home crowd is for them, it's going to be the pressure getting to Brock Purdy is going to have to be an issue. And
that's not
Geno having the chip on his shoulder like he has. Because, I do think the mentality – when it gets down into the nitty-gritty, this Seahawks team, this defense is good. It's not great, but it can step up in big moments. And I think that Geno's the kind of guy who can really fire up the whole team, especially if he goes out there and does well. And Kenneth Walker, like you said, has looked great at times. And I think if let's say we see a first drive from the Seahawks that ends in a touchdown with maybe a pretty nice break for Walker on a run and then a touchdown pass to Lockett or Metcalf. This is going to be a team that gets fired up really quickly, I think, if you get out to an early lead like that.
So you think their best chance is just to get all the momentum early and just kind of ride it as far as they can?
Yeah. If it's 6-3 or 3-3 at the end of the first quarter, it's a 49ers win for me all day.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point there, and that is that the best way to beat the 49ers in this game is to generate pressure on Brock Purdy. And the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to lean towards, the Seahawks have no chance. And that's because they just don't get after the quarterback the way they need to. Bruce Irvin, Uchenna Nwosu, Boya Mafe, it's just not a very good edge rush group. They just don't get after the passer.
So I agree with that, but I was actually talking about mental pressure, stress pressure. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm thinking I think it's only a head game in this case because Brock Purdy plays like he's played. They can't win the game.
Right.
Because Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel's healthy, Brandon Ayuk, who's a great wide receiver, and he's not even one of their main playmakers. Mm-hmm. In the pinch, you can throw the ball to George Kittle 10 yards down the field or on a tight end screen and probably pick up a 3rd and 8 first down. It's just such a hard team to beat. And you
have Shanahan calling the plays. He's the best play caller in the NFL.
You take that offense, and let's say they're not perfect, but they're good, and then you give them one of the best defenses we've seen probably since the mid-2000s Ravens. Year over year over year, consistent good defenses.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers are the closest we've seen to that.
Yeah, year to year, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they're really good consistently.
Well, when you potentially churn out 2 or 3 head coaches that come from the defensive coordinator position consecutively,
yeah,
you're doing something right as a team on defense. That means you've got great players because these guys are getting notoriety. And it also means that coaching tree, that Saleh and then Ryan's coaching tree, like it's all working. The process is working for this team.
Yeah. Yeah, so the more I think about it, the more I agree. I wanted to give Seattle at least some kind of sliver of hope, and I still kind of think that like I think the door is more open for them than it is the Dolphins. But the more I think about it, the more I think this is just a really bad matchup for them.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a win. I mean, so we're looking at a pretty boring potential start to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'll also say it's the first game of the playoffs, and it's a daytime game.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be noon local time for them.
I will
so this
say
could be a slow wake up for both teams.
I will say that I do. We were talking about Baltimore and Cincinnati, with Cincinnati being minus 9.5. I do like the 49ers minus 9.5 a lot more than I like Cincinnati minus 9.5, because I do think this game has blowout potential more so than the Bengals-Ravens game.
Yeah. This is another one of those, I call it run to cover. This is another potential where the 49ers outrush them by more than 30 yards by the calculator standards. We've got them at running for 46 more yards than the Seahawks. Well, you have Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey running the ball.
Yeah.
And I think a more advanced stat may even be to include some of like screen yards or short pass yards as part of the statistic, because I think it's sort of the same mentality of just incremental movement and wearing down a defense. And I think that this has this is definitely a situation where we could see it being over by the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I don't know if I would bet San Francisco minus 9.5, but I do like it more than the other. There are 2 other like really big spreads this weekend. It's Buffalo minus 13 and Cincinnati minus 9.5. Those lines have probably moved some, but that's what I'm getting on the website that I'm currently on right now.
The posted play is 1 unit on the under, and so this is going to fall into that same betting mentality of take one thing. I like the under better than the minus 9.5 because
100%.
It's more realistic to be under than it is to be winning by like it's an NFL playoff game. 10 points is a big time victory.
Yeah, and you're dealing with one defense that is just really dominant. So
we could see a really ugly game. We could see 13-0 like they did to the Saints.
Yeah.
The week before Brock Purdy took the job.
For sure. Okay, so that's the 49ers and the Seahawks. Next up, we have the Vikings and the Giants. And I think that this is the first time, at least for me, that I'm going to be taking the underdog. I'm taking the Giants in this game.
Well, you got the Jags. You took the Jags, although they are a division winner, so that's
weird. They're the home team. They're the higher seed. So
the away underdog is a hard thing this weekend. But it is the Giants.
Yeah, that's.
I mentioned to you earlier in the week when I did the calculations. I plugged everything in. It's the new method. It's a 2-point victory for the Giants, is what the calculator says. Like when I've added some adjustments, the old method, which was already fairly accurate, had it as a 6-point victory for the Giants. That is wild for a 3-point underdog.
Yeah. That
is so. When you say, "Are you tempted to take the money line on the Jags earlier?" No, on the Giants.
Yeah,
I have a process for getting to this place, and yes, I really like it.
Well, if you look at the Vikings, they have overperformed to a degree that the NFL has rarely seen. Like, I'm pretty sure, don't they have a negative point differential? Like, I think that's like that is wild for the number 3 seed in the NFC playoffs. Like, that is just a wild stat that a team finished 13-4, 12-5, something like. What was their final record?
13-4, and they scored less points than their opponent.
That is unbelievable.
That's the stuff that your buddy in your fantasy league whines about. Like, oh, I have the second most points, but I'm finishing in 8th place. Like, nobody cares, dude. It happens to everybody every year. We all have a league where that happens.
But 13-4 on negative
in
points.
Real life football is wild.
Yeah, that's nuts. And
I'm trying to get to the number. It is close now. It was bad earlier in the year, but they've improved on that in the last few weeks. It is a 0.2 point differential that they've scored 24.9, opponents scored 25.1.
Okay, so
but when you have a 40-3 blowout to the Cowboys or whatever that ended up being, it happens. Like
what is the overall points? What would that be? 17 times 0.2?
24.9, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. It's a 3.4 total difference.
Oh yeah, I forgot when they scored 0.4 points in that one game. No, I'm
trying to help you.
I know. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see what the total point differential was real quick.
Yeah.
They have scored 424 points and they have given up 427. So it's 3 points. So it's pretty much even. Like the Dolphins, interestingly enough, are also in the playoffs with a negative point differential. The Seahawks have positive. Chargers are positive, but it's actually not that crazy because the Chargers are pretty much even as well. So are the Seahawks. So are the Dolphins. So,
it's these teams that just decide we're going to lose. We're going to lose
big,
really good.
Yeah, and then we're going to win by 1 point.
We're going to lose a game by 17, a game by 37, a game by 11, and a game by 24.
Wow.
There's massive differentials in the NFL.
Wow. I didn't realize the Cowboys had such a big point differential. They have a 125 point differential.
Well, they won a game by 37 against these Vikings. That's the thing is like, when you have a big outlier like that, that wasn't supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. It just kind of did. But I was going to tell you that this Vikings team in hindsight would have been a great team to be when you really liked their opponent to bet alternate spreads and bet them to like blast them. Yeah. I'm a big fan of those. Like if you have a genuine reason to take like a 3-1 line on, say, they'll lose by more than 17 points or by more than 10 points or whatever it is you're going to decide to take, like where the spread is only 3, that's a great thing to do for small unit bets. But especially this Vikings team because they just handed it to you 4 times this year.
Right. Yeah, so as far as the game goes, the Vikings, man, their offensive line is decimated right now.
Yeah.
And don't correct me. I hate it when people do the thing, oh, decimated means whenever you kill every 10th one. Has anybody ever done that to you?
No.
Where they're like, oh, you're using the word decimated wrong because that means you only like take out.
It's not really a part of my vocabulary. I don't.
Oh, really?
I haven't said decimated a lot, but I think you used it correctly. It means that they're like
they're
beat down. They're beat down is what I understood.
Yeah, that's the way that everybody understands it. But they're always
downtrodden.
Yeah, but that's actually like technically it's incorrect, and there's always like that one guy in the room who's like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be said. But anyway, I'm looking at
Garrett
the injury.
Bradbury is supposed to be back.
Oh, okay.
That's good news.
Yeah, that is. And I'm looking at their injury report. It's actually not as bad as I thought, at least on the offensive line. And oh my God, dude, my dogs. Can you hear them right now?
Barely. It's fine. Yeah, you can't hear them. Yeah, you're good.
They are freaking the heck out right now. They do this They do this every. No, they just do this every morning. That like they'll wake up, they'll go in the living room, and they will just bark and howl for like 5 minutes, and then they're done. It's the weirdest thing. But anyways, I don't think even with their offensive line being relatively okay, or at least it seems like it is man, I could have swore I heard that their offensive line was in really bad shape this week. But I don't think their defense is very good. I don't really trust Kirk Cousins. I don't trust Daniel Jones either, but to me,
I do.
You do?
I do.
Really?
Daniel Jones has gotten a bad rap, and Brian Daboll is a better coach than Kevin O'Connell.
Oh, Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll
He's a
is
better coach.
Brian
This is an amazing New York Giants team. But I say that to say that just the reason the Vikings have done what they've done is because Justin Jefferson is that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he is going to be on the field, and that matters tremendously. So it is like, again, it's the NFL. It's going to be complicated. I think the Giants win this game. There's so many pieces, and I think if they can just, I mean, they're not going to shut down Jefferson, but they can limit him, have an 80, 85-yard game, which is still a great playoff NFL game, then they win the game here. Yeah. But if they can't stop Jefferson, and especially if they get up, because I don't believe in Dalvin Cook as like the guy that he was a few years ago before his injury. I don't believe. I mean, Thielen is kind of done. Although Osborne's come on hot lately, and
T.J. Hawkins.
The Vikings are ready to admit that Osborne is the number 2, as far as like how they should prioritize wide receiver targets.
Honestly, I think at this point Hawkinson is the number 2. Like,
Hawkinson is.
Yeah, Hawkinson has really done well since that trade.
Hawkinson's a great athlete.
He is. I think he was kind of underutilized in Detroit. I like that trade for both sides, honestly, because Detroit moves some assets into the future where it needs to be, and Minnesota gets a good playmaker. But
Detroit's doing it right. We talked about a rebuild with Seattle and how they should approach it. Detroit's doing it right because I think Jared Goff also does have enough of a skill set, and he's young enough. He's a lot younger than Geno, where you can still build.
Yeah.
Something.
Both teams are going to have a really interesting decision come draft day, because that number 1 pick, after the Texans beat the Colts, that number 1 pick just went right on the open market, because I don't think the Bears have any interest in making a selection a number 1. But anyway, I think the Giants. I like the Giants' defense. I like their pass rush. I think their secondary is underrated. Their offensive line has really improved. It's young, but it's gotten a lot better as the season has gone along. Saquon hasn't been the same guy that he was at the beginning of the season, but once again, it's running back. It's a big deal, but I think
he'll get hyped up for the playoffs.
Yeah,
Saquon's had a really brutal career, and him and Cook have had the same injury. Didn't they both take tear an ACL? One of the 2 season enders that they had in the past couple of years.
Yeah,
but I think that Saquon's recovered a little bit better. But I also think that Dalvin Cook has had some success in the NFL, and Barkley hasn't really had that team success. And I think that this is his moment, and I think he sees that. And maybe next year, but I think this is really This is a great matchup for week 1, a great opportunity to advance to the second round.
I will say, I think that this is the game that has the widest variety of outcomes. I think this game could totally be a Vikings blowout. I think it could be a Giants blowout. I think it could be a nail biter and everything in between that. So yeah, I'm not too confident in any one outcome in this game. Honestly, if it were just me running off my intuition, I would just avoid this game altogether. I would be tempted to go Giants money line. What is the money line right now on the Giants? I don't have
140.
Plus 140.
1.4.
Yep. That would be tempting, but I'm not super duper confident in any one team winning this game. But if I had to make a pick, it'd be the Giants.
So I'll tell you something. We've talked about the calculator a few times. The Giants are one of the greatest success stories, or a game that included the Giants. When I started generating these numbers, probably like week 9 or 10, it's when you and I started talking about it. Week 13 comes along. Calculator projected Commanders Giants game 20.2 to 20.1. Famously, we took the under, and the game ended in a 20-20 tie, so we won by a half point.
That's right.
which was a huge celebration because we got to sweat out a whole overtime just hoping for nothing. But it was a testament to the Giants defense. I will say I also missed pretty hard because the next game was the Giants Commanders rematch in week 15. And I had it as a 9-point Commanders win. They lost by 8. If I'm not mistaken, they had a quarterback change that week where I can't recall.
That's the one thing with the projection system is if we could find a way to account for injuries on that, like significant injuries, that'd be really helpful. But
it's hard sometimes though, because you would have thought that Garoppolo's injury would have been really significant, and I just trusted the calculator that they were going to go and still beat the Miami Dolphins on the back of their defense and running game, and they did. They blasted them. They outran them by over 30 yards, which is exactly why we took the 49ers in that game, and that is why.
Yeah, but like more often than not, you're not going to have a success story like Brock Purdy happened. More often than not, it's going to be Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley or somebody like that.
I can't wait until Skylar Thompson throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they either
doesn't matter
lose a close one or win. I think they'll. I don't know, man.
Still Skylar Thompson.
Josh Allen looks suspect this year. He's still great. He's still got the athleticism to be a difference maker, but it seems like I don't understand how Stephon Diggs hasn't been on a team that's really gone all the way, and he's become like this iconic image of him staring at the winners on the other side celebrating, after the game. That picture of the back of him and he's looking off at the Chiefs celebrating the AFC Championship or whoever it was.
Yeah, but when I think of him, I think of the catch against the Saints when Marcus Williams just kind of like did the
but what happened that year? Did they go to the Super Bowl?
No, they lost. Well, that's because he spent most of his career with the Vikings, and the Vikings are just like notorious for this, like where they have like great regular seasons and then just crap the bed in the playoffs.
But they had that for them objectively had a great playoff. I mean, they beat
New Orleans.
They beat the Saints, and didn't they won another game in that playoff?
Yeah, they.
But
beat, I was
the Rams.
I was gonna make up some team. I can't remember.
Can't remember. Yeah. Maybe not.
Anyway,
I'm just saying. I just feel like that's unfortunately the narrative of his career is like close but never there, and I hope not. I like Stephon Diggs.
Honestly,
I really love that Vikings team.
Honestly, man, if you're not a quarterback. Like, I'm not going to judge you on rings. You're along for the ride. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like a linebacker is going to carry you to a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some other pieces there.
Hold on. Joe Flacco didn't carry the Ravens to the Super Bowl.
No, a collective defense did, right? Like Trent Dilfer didn't carry the Ravens the time before that. It was a collective defense. But I would never, ever say that Ray Lewis carried the Ravens on his back to a Super Bowl. It was Ray Lewis. It was Tony Siragusa. It was all these.
I'm actively trying to think of an example. By the way.
Yeah, it's hard.
Really
it's so quarterback dependent.
Because even like the year that Foles won it, like it was Wentz and Foles who really you can't go back and say, oh, it was a receiver or it was a. All right, what if the Vikings win it this year? Did Kirk Cousins win it or did Justin Jefferson win it?
I mean, it wasn't Justin Jefferson. I would just say that the team collectively came together in a very Ravens-esque win. In my opinion, it's either the quarterback wins it or the team wins it. I can't think of an instance where, a left tackle has carried, as just the
Rashawn Slater wins this year's Super Bowl for the Chargers.
Right.
I'd love to see an offensive lineman be the Super Bowl MVP. They'll never win the regular season one, but I'd love to see it happen.
How good would a left tackle have to be to put a team on his back and just he'd have to be so big and so strong that he was just able to just collect 3 or 4 defenders at once and just throw them on the ground and lay on them every single play.
You would have to see the 49ers go get Joey Bosa and Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack and just be rotating them on that left side and him just constantly pushing them down.
Even then you're talking about a collective team. effort, right? Like it's not like an
Yeah.
individual guy. Yeah.
So, fun fact, by the way, it's interesting. I just Googled Super Bowl champion because I was going to look for like past Super Bowl champs to see if I could find a potential example. And it just pops up nothing. Like, nothing about the Super Bowl. It's just Falcons 30, Buccaneers 17 from last week. And I was like, oh, God, Google knows Tampa's going to win. It's going to be awful.
Dude, I'm a Brady fan. I love. I want to see it happen this year. I want to see him take a below 500 team and go to the Super Bowl. I'm all about Brady getting as many rings as he can. I love it. I don't know. I've just always been a Brady guy.
Okay, who's going to have more Super Bowl rings, or who's more likely to have more Super Bowl rings than Brady? Mahomes or Burrow or Allen or name your other? But I think it's
neither. Collectively, they might not have as many.
I don't
as Brady.
think collectively either.
7,
and I don't like that he has 7, but
7 Super Bowls is absurd. Like that is out of this world. Like people talk about Aaron Rodgers and his career like he is the greatest thing that ever happened to football, and he has 1 Super Bowl appearance that he happened to win.
Brett Favre was way better, and current controversy aside, Brett Favre was way better than Aaron Rodgers in every respect to me. Like, I liked him more. He was more entertaining. Okay. He brought a lot more fun to the game. He was more he probably wasn't
Okay. No. Okay, Casey. You are not going to find a bigger Brett Favre fan than me. My uncle that I just had Christmas with was his roommate and best friend in college. Okay, Chris Riles. He wrote about him in his book. They golfed together. When my uncle was sick, Brett like came and saw him and like helped him out and stuff. Like Brett is like a family friend of my family, right? And when I was growing up, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. It's really hard for me to say at this point that Brett Favre is clearly a better quarterback. I think you could make an argument that they're like that they're about even. But
I think about like talent wise, yeah, but I just like people like Brett Favre better.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
He was very proud of himself in a certain way, but I don't know. Rodgers
like if you take out the recent like news with Brett, you know, like the controversy
Brett Favre
or
was
whatever.
way more wholesome.
Yeah, if you take out all that stuff, Brett was a far more likable
potentially
person.
Defrauding the state of Mississippi. If you take that out, if you remove that from the equation,
we don't have to mention that, you know.
That's not what we're here for. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
back to the game. Giants Vikings.
Well, I was gonna say in regards to Brett, you are right that I think that Brett has like this aura of like legend about him that Aaron just doesn't have, and I think a lot of that does have to do with how likable he is. Personally,
I think beating John Elway in a Super Bowl was a big deal.
He didn't beat John Elway in a Super Bowl.
Was that not the one they won?
No, he beat Drew Bledsoe and the Patriots, and then the next year they lost to John Elway.
Okay, so he lost to John Elway. Mm-hmm. But they played a couple of times, I feel like, in the Super Bowl. It was like a Favre Elway Super Bowl, just the once?
Just once.
Maybe it's just like the first meaningful memory I have of the NFL playoffs. I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, Favre went to 2 Super Bowls. They were back-to-back. He beat Bledsoe, and then the next year he lost to Elway, and then he never went back. But anyways, this game, which game were we on? The Vikings,
Giants, Vikings.
Yeah,
we're nowhere near the two teams, but let's go back to this.
Yeah,
the Giants as an organization just always do it in the playoffs, and the Vikings just always never do it in the playoffs. So that's why that's just another thing.
I tend to try to disregard like franchise narratives. You know, like the Jets are gonna jet. It really is, but
the Raiders are gonna draft somebody really fast, and they're gonna go to jail.
I don't know. I just like the Giants in a vacuum in this game.
I think they're a better overall team.
So do I.
And they
despite
face
the record,
stiffer competition.
Division. Let's just talk for a second about how good that division was this year. Everybody everybody thought it coming into the season. Everybody was calling it what, the NFL least. Like it was going to be the worst division in football, just like it's been for every other year. And everybody was wrong. Everybody was wrong about it. That division is so good. Even the worst team in the division, the Commanders, almost made the playoffs. Like they were right in it till the very end. And well, I think they were eliminated in week 17. But I mean, they were that's a really talented team. Like they have a great defensive line. They have, I mean, they have a lot to build on over there. They just need a quarterback. But that division was so good, and I do think
Commanders' defense is good.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that there is an element, like when you get into the playoffs, of being more battle tested, right? I think when the Giants are having to play the Cowboys twice, the Commanders twice, the Eagles twice, and then you're the Vikings and you have to play a Packers team that was not that great this year, at least for 3/4 of the year, a Lions team that was okay, but like they're still kind of up and coming, and then just an awful Bears team. Like that's, I do think that once you get into the playoffs, playing those really good teams does kind of prepare you a little bit more for the grind, I guess. And that, I'm not necessarily using that as a reason to pick the Giants, but it does just kind of add to the point.
So I thought I was going to do something to really substantiate this argument, and I don't think that I did. So, and I only looked at NFC playoff teams. I didn't factor in the AFC teams because the Vikings obviously look a lot better if you factor in that. But I was like, well, what do these two teams do against playoff teams? Against NFC playoff teams, because they play in the East, the Giants played 1, 2. I'm sorry, that's the Vikings screen I'm looking at. But they played either 6 or 7. They played 6 or 7 NFC playoff matchups.
Okay.
So they played the Eagles twice, the Cowboys twice. That's 4. They also played the Vikings. That's 5. And they played Seattle, so 6. So they played 6 games against teams that are in the NFC playoffs. The Vikings only played 4.
Yeah, they played the Giants once. They played the Cowboys once.
They played the Eagles once. They also played the NFC East.
So those
they did better against. They did objectively better because they beat the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
But they only scored 37 collective points in those 4 games. So that's
wait, is that
I'm
true?
sorry, 3 games. They only played 3 games against NFC playoff teams. So they didn't play the 49ers this year. They didn't play the Seahawks this year.
Yeah.
They played the 3 NFC East teams. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, that's wild. So that's 10.
That's 12 points a game that they scored against NFC playoff teams versus 18 points a game that the Giants scored. This is just offensively. Giants scored. The Giants did give up more, obviously, across that span. They played a lot closer games.
They played 4 games against the NFC. Oh, wait, no, you're just talking about those playoff teams. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the East in general. Okay, yeah, no, you're right.
I was just looking at the and I could have looked at AFC, but I did it on the fly there. But I was like, wow, the Giants didn't beat one of those teams though, and the Vikings did. The Vikings beat the Giants, but they did get blasted by the Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah,
and so. Again, it was a close game with the Giants that was winnable. You got to revert back to something, and a lot of times folks will go, well, I'll go with the better quarterback. And I don't know if we have that easy decision here. So I go with the better coach, which I actually start with the coach anyways. I think that's more informative. And I just think like seeing what Daboll did with Buffalo as an offensive coordinator is more impressive.
Daboll is a monster. Daboll is terrific. I love Brian Daboll. But yeah, I think that's about all we need to.
I also love the chip on the shoulder Daniel Jones must have.
Yeah.
Like the world doesn't think he's worthwhile. You mentioned it. I do. I think Daniel Jones is so dangerous.
Skylar Thompson, Daniel Jones. than
Yeah,
like
he's not a
everybody
top 5
else.
quarterback that I know somebody. I think
No,
somebody said on
I-
ESPN
I-
this week, but
I'm
he's
just, I'm
good.
just playing. I'm just playing. He's not that bad. I think he's like a middle of the road quarterback. Like if you were to rank him anywhere from like 15th to 20th, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, he's better than Derek Carr.
Yeah, I would.
That's
agree
my
with that.
barometer for almost everything. He's better than Geno Smith.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah, probably.
Let's look at the NFC playoff teams. Is he better than Kirk Cousins? They're different. He's not better, but they're different.
They're so close.
Either's better.
Yeah, honestly.
He's better than Tom Brady is right now. Tomorrow, he's better.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, dude. I don't.
Is he better than Dak Prescott?
Yeah. No, he's not. No. I think you're getting
have identical stats this year.
Yeah, I know, but like there's this year, but like you also have to expand the sample size a little bit. Like I've seen way more from Dak Prescott than I've seen from Daniel Jones. Like history.
Is Daniel Jones the best quarterback in the NFC playoffs?
No. Not even close.
No,
you think he's better than Jalen Hurts? You think he's better?
Receiving court.
You think he's better than Jalen Hurts? You think he's better than
Jalen
Tom
Hurts
Brady?
Is great, and I think it's cheap that people say that Jalen Hurts is only good because of the team he's on. But I will say that you do have to take into account that Jalen Hurts has like an always healthy Miles Sanders. He's got Dallas Goedert, who's a great tight end, and those are the two worst of his skill players he gets to throw the ball to.
Dude, he's
got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and Quez Watkins. The great Quez Watkins is the number 3 receiver there.
USM.
Yes.
But
yes, I think that there's an argument to be made that Daniel Jones
has been good this year.
I think if you switch teams, the Eagles probably perform the same and the Giants perform worse.
As good as Daniel Jones has been this year and as bad as Tom Brady has been this year, do you know what their PFF grades are?
Similar.
Yeah, they're similar. Tom Brady's is 3.5 points better. He has 79.7 and Daniel Jones has 76.0.
Yeah.
Like
they're wrong though. So I don't care. I don't care. You could name any stat, even ones that I claim. You could look at my calculator; it probably says the same. In fact, I know that Tom Brady is gonna throw for 340 yards, and Daniel Jones won't. But Daniel Jones might run for 90.
Yeah,
and that's what matters to me when I talk about Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
like that capacity to do both.
Vanilla Vic. I don't know. I think
I'm going to go on record here. I think Daniel Jones is a top 2 quarterback in the NFC playoffs. I think Daniel Jones might be the best one this season. Like in this moment, right now, for the next 4 weeks, Daniel Jones.
I think at best he is 3rd. I think there is an argument that could be made that at this moment in time, because Dak hasn't played all that well, he might be better than Dak. And
I include injury risk too. That's like, this is part of the equation. Daniel Jones does what he does and doesn't get as injured as the other guys.
That's true. Well, I mean, he's missed some time.
Yeah, but not as, I don't know, Dak Prescott, and I love Dak Prescott, Mississippi State boy. I'm a big Mississippi State fan. I was crazy that he went in the 4th round. I thought he was much better than that. But Dak Prescott steps on his own foot and he's out for 3 weeks. Sometimes
Daniel Jones, he's played 16 out of 17 games this year. He missed 6 games last year. He missed 3 games the year before. No, 2 games the year before that, and 3 games the year before that. So I mean, he's missed some time, but he hasn't been out for big chunks, I don't guess.
All right, prop bet question. Would you rather take the Dolphins 6-1 to win this weekend, or the Giants? I shouldn't have given you the odds on the Dolphins. Let's just say, what do you think is more likely, the Dolphins to win this weekend against Buffalo, or the Giants to win the Super Bowl?
And
give me a scale, because
the Dolphins to win this week. I do.
It's substantially more likely.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It depends on what you mean by substantially.
Right, well,
If I
you
were
can get
capping it just based off like my intuition, I would put the Dolphins' odds of winning this week at like 9 or 10 to 1. I would put the Giants' odds of winning the Super Bowl right now at like 25 to 1, 30 to 1, maybe even
so
35 to
you
1.
actually that's exactly, and this is another concept about sports betting that's important. If you genuinely believe that, you really would probably be considering taking the Giants at their current 66 to 1 odds.
Yeah,
It's amazing odds.
yeah. You're
That's the only argument. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying, like, I like it better than 6 to 1 on the Dolphins to beat the Bills.
Oh yeah. Certainly. I would take the Giants at 66 to 1. I do think I was probably undershooting it at like 30. I was just trying to kind of like quickly do it in my head, but
There's some heavy favorites this year at
there
this point.
there are, and weird
There's
things
multiple.
can
Usually
happen.
there's one. Usually there's one that's like plus 1.4 to 1. The best odds the narrowest odds is plus 3.5 to 1, which is the Chiefs. But there's 5 teams between 3 and 6.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
I'm
I don't know
excited for next week's playoff matchups.
that is a pretty good bet. 66 to 1 for the Giants. I do kind of like that. I don't believe in them at all, but
suppose Jalen Hurts gets hurt. And if you think he's a top 3, and then you see the teams these other guys have to go through, the Giants could easily make a run for it. And then it's the Super Bowl, and yeah, you're going to have to play a really talented team no matter who makes it from the AFC. But
you could do an Eli Manning.
One game sample, anybody can win.
Yeah, Eli Manning did it twice.
And then you got 66 to 1 on your money. If you felt like it, you could hedge. I don't ever hedge. It's silly, but.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the final matchup. Tampa Bay at Dallas. Dallas.
Well, second best matchup.
Dallas is the favorite right now, aren't they? 2.5-point favorite, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, that's what I got right here.
Away favorite as well. I think that is completely wrong, and I'm all if Tampa is at 2.5 to 1, I am all over Tampa at 2.5 to 1. I'm all over that bet. I think that.
No, you're saying plus 2.5. The money line's only 1.1 to 1 or 1.2 to 1.
Yeah, 2.5 to 1. I'm sorry, yeah, plus 2.5. Yeah, I'm on Tampa plus 2.5 all day, all day long. To me, that's the best bet of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm out. I got it as a 4-point win on the calculator for the Cowboys.
Really? Wow.
It's a no bet, but it's a 4-point win.
Wow, that's wild to me. I understand it from the calculator's perspective because the Buccaneers they've had so many struggles like throughout the season that it's just so easy to just be off of them. But there are two reasons why I think this game, that the betting narrative anyway around this game is totally wrong. One, the Buccaneers are going to be healthy for like the first time in a while. Like, sure, they still have some injuries. Like, I think Shaq Barrett is on IR. Like, he's not going to be coming back. Let me go to the Roto World injury report right now.
While you pull that up, I'm just going to say, and I'm pulling it up to really get a good look at this. But I believe we could probably, what we talked about the Ravens and their saving grace was like how low scoring their offense has been, and it can only be better than that this week. Mm-hmm. And they're still winning games because of the defense. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers are just as bad offensively. What's the key difference? The Buccaneers still had their starting Hall of Fame quarterback. The Ravens did not.
Right.
So I'm like, the Buccaneers are the NFC's Ravens as far as like how many points they can generate, but they don't have. But they've had the main guy, like you said. They've had the quarterback. That's the main person you got to be concerned with, and they still can't put up the points except for last week.
And I'm telling you, dude.
Actually, no, they didn't even do it last week. 2 weeks ago, I guess. 2 weeks against Carolina.
I'm telling you, dude. One of the biggest hurdles that the Buccaneers have had to overcome this season has been the center position. And who are they? They're getting back Ryan Jensen this week. Like he's on schedule to return. I'm pretty sure he's on the return list for the IR. But that would be enormous because Tom Brady and his center do so much communicating with each other, kind of directing the offense, the flow of the offensive line, everything like that. So pretty much everybody outside of Aaron Stinney should be healthy for this offensive line. Like as far as the starters go, all their wide receivers are going to be healthy. At this point, it's just going to be a matter of like, can Tom get it done? And we're talking about playoff Tom Brady.
He will not do it.
You don't think he'll beat the Cowboys?
No. Well, hang on. I was talking about playoffs. I think the Cowboys win the game. Yeah, but it's a mild think. It's not like I'm so confident in it. Mm-hmm. Because the calculator doesn't take into effect how many games the Cowboys have played on turf. The Cowboys are only 1-4 on grass this year. They're playing on grass this weekend. Mm-hmm. Tony Dungy on Sunday Night Football quoted that last week, and I thought that was so interesting. And he goes, "And if I'm Todd Bowles, I'm going to the grounds guys and telling them to grow that grass long." And I was like, absolutely you should. Yeah. Any competitive advantage you can get in a team that has Tom Brady involved will look for every even gray area edge we know to do it. They might grow the grass to an illegal NFL length, but guess what you can't do is take the win away next week.
And I think honestly,
and it's a shame that I believe the NFL has to go and measure the grass if they have stipulations on it, because only Tom Brady would recommend it. Only Tom Brady would put a little less air in some footballs. Only Tom Brady would be on a team with, and then you could say it's Bill Belichick, but Brady was there the whole time too, recording practices. He's, to me, is he great? Sure. Is he a cheater? Also sure. And maybe if you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. I don't care. But I don't think he genuinely, playing by the rules the rest of the NFL plays by, he should only have 5 rings, which is still outlandishly good.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't find it as morally objectionable, I guess, as you do. But because
it's consistently happened. It's just
it's happened twice.
Do we need to talk about FTX right now, Sam Bankman-Fried, and whether or not Tom Brady is involved at a deep level there?
Oh, well, I mean, now we're starting to get away from competitive advantage in football.
I will say that I do think that crypto's performance played a role on his performance in real life football this year.
I think it was
his
more
personal life.
Yeah, the divorce,
his personal
thing.
Life too.
Yeah,
and maybe he's coming out of that mentally. I don't know. I think mentality is way more important than people give it credit for when it comes to betting.
Sure.
So with that, I'll say that he's probably in a better state this weekend. But I still think Cowboys probably win. Cowboys are a better team.
I disagree. I think that that the Buccaneers have had way more injury issues than people would like to believe. I think a lot of people want Tom to fail. And
well, yeah, I do. I'm one of those.
Yeah, and I get that. But
if the Raiders get him next year, I want it. He's the best quarterback that's ever lived.
At that point, let all the air out of the football.
I'm gonna be like all those Bucs fans 2 years ago, Tom Brady. Oh, we never hated him.
Yeah. But I think outside of Shaq Barrett, this defense is relatively healthy. Logan Ryan is questionable, but Vita Vea is also questionable. That could be an issue. But the offense is mostly healthy as well. If they get Ryan Jensen back, I don't know, man. I think that people have been betting against playoff Tom Brady for so long.
For too long.
And it never works.
So I'm telling you, don't bet against him. I'm just saying I think he loses, and that's a genuine. I don't want. It's not even my will that I want him to lose.
Yeah,
it's just he loses.
I'm just talking about. No, I'm not even talking about betting. I'm just picking the game. And I'm saying that, dude. I have this belief in Tom Brady. It almost goes into paranormal territory. But he just gets it done. Even last year when they lost in the playoffs, he made it was like a 22-point comeback or something like that in one quarter. And the only reason they lost was because they decided to play soft coverage against Cooper Kupp, and they ended up getting in field goal range. It wasn't even his fault at that point. It's crazy. Yeah.
So let's get away from the quarterbacks. in this matchup though. There's just because there are some key things to talk about. Like let's talk about CeeDee Lamb and who do you take as the current number one? It seems like Godwin is his favorite target right now, but I mean you can't discredit Mike Evans is also a great wide receiver.
I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in this matchup. I think the second and third best wide receivers are Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and I don't think it's close. I think that the gap.
Yeah, no, it's not close after those three.
Yeah,
and Schultz is the better tight end. I think we got to give the tight end lean. Although I like K. Dotton a lot, if that's who they go with. I think they're kind of silly.
I think the gap between Dalton Schultz and K. Dotton is significant. I like Dalton Schultz a lot. But I think that the gap, as far as just like wide receivers go, I think that the gap between CeeDee Lamb and Mike Evans / Chris Godwin is pretty small. I think the gap between Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and whoever you have as like the fourth best wide receiver is massive. So, I mean, I don't think that's a hot take either. So if you're asking me which wide receiver group I would rather have, it would, to me, it's clearly Tampa's.
You're not big on Cavante Turpin?
No, I did that. He did. Wasn't he the guy?
T.Y. Hilton, though. Hey, I like that T.Y. Hilton's here in this matchup. I'm not saying anything about it, but I like that it's happening.
If it was 2016, I would be ecstatic about T.Y.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to go to offensive line, man, coming into the year, I thought that it was going to be the Buccaneers easily having one of the best offensive lines in football. It hasn't been that this year. But like I said, I think a lot of that comes down to Ryan Jensen being out for most of the year, for all of the year. And if he comes back, I mean, that could help a lot. Now he is coming.
Their offensive line does look decimated. I just wanted to use your word.
The Buccaneers?
The Bucs. Yeah, comparatively, like they do have a lot of
the Cowboys
top level.
Isn't Tyrone Smith out for the Cowboys? Pretty sure he is.
Yeah. Well, he's been out, but Tyler Smith has stepped up pretty good there.
He has. Which to be honest,
who's pass rush? But it's all about the flip side of the equation. Whose pass rush do you fear more?
Right now, Dallas, because Shaq Barrett is out for the Bucs.
Who's got the best playmakers in the secondary? And I mean those ball hawk guys, not just like great shutdown defender. But I'm talking like
as ball hawk guys, Dallas because of Trayvon Diggs, but as corner, I honestly maybe even just as like flat out cornerbacks in general as well, because Trayvon Diggs has been pretty excellent this year. Now the rest of that Dallas secondary is a little bit more questionable. And I think overall, I would take Tampa's secondary over Dallas's.
If you watch the Cowboys games, I kind of think Trayvon Diggs and his like one-on-one matchups has been a little bit like the Vikings were this year, and it's that if he's going to lose it, he's going to lose it bad. Like he's either going to win the matchup on a single play, or he's going to give up a big play.
That was true last year. This year, he's been a little bit more disciplined.
Well, he's been way more consistent, but he still gave up some big home runs this year.
Sure. I think that's always going to kind of be a little bit of his game. But, like, PFF hated Trayvon Diggs last year. Like, it was crazy. Really? He had, like, 11 interceptions or whatever, and he graded out as, like, a 55. Because he also gave up, like, an NFL record amount of yards or whatever. This year, well, actually – they don't love him this year, but he graded out as a 67. So, that's better than last year. Last year, he graded out as a 59 with 11 interceptions. This year, he graded out as a 67 with 3 interceptions. So, goes to show you that interception total is not a great barometer for good secondary play. But,
it is not.
But, yeah, overall, if we were going to do a unit-by-unit breakdown of this game, I would give quarterback, I'd give to the Bucs. Running back, I would give to the Cowboys because of Tony Pollard, not because of Ezekiel Elliott. Tight end, I would give to the Cowboys. Offensive line, I would give to the Cowboys reluctantly because I don't know how Ryan Jensen coming back is going to affect the Bucks. Wide receiver, I'd give to the Bucks. Edge rush, I'd give to the Cowboys. Interior defensive line, I'd give to the Tampa. But is on the edge rush question, DeMarcus Lawrence is questionable for this game. Is he playing? Because that could be that could be significant if he doesn't play.
I'm not saying that he's questionable on my side. He looks
on RotoWire, he is questionable with a foot injury.
Oh yeah, no. I'm the last anything I see. I don't think he's
good. Okay, well if he's good to go, then yeah, clearly it's Dallas. Linebackers, Tampa has the best linebackers in the league. It's easily Tampa. And then in the secondary, I think I'd give it to Tampa, but it's close. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's a relatively even matchup, and in an even matchup, I would give it to Tom Brady over Dak Prescott. The
home team comes into play, the field conditions. Yeah. I haven't even looked at the weather, but like if you're dealing with weather, the home team is going to be a favorite there. It might come down to kickers, and this is a weird thing to talk about. Nobody ever does this on anything where they talk about sports, but like
we're going to do an in-depth.
Cowboys are going to win the kicking matchup. 10 out of 10 to me. Yeah. Marv or Suckup, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think it could be that way. It could be 41-39.
Dude, Suckup is like, I'm not like huge into kicking stats, but has Suckup like been bad this year or something?
No, Mars is one of those. I think he's probably a top 5 guy. That's just my eye test coming into play.
Let's see. Hold up.
Yeah. I'll pull up Brett Maher and
yeah, I'm looking here. Brett Maher.
90.6%, made 9 over 50 yards, 50 for 53 on extra points.
I can't believe we're looking up kicker stats.
I think it's he's got 17 more points than Suckup this year. Suckup is 81%, 10% differential. Yeah, and made field goals.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
What matters. Like we don't care about extra points as much.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, but I mean, Suckup was at 92 years ago. I mean, like
I think because it is so much even everywhere, you got to go to something, and like I don't think there's a clear coaching advantage. I don't think there's home field, yeah, that helps. The field conditions obviously leans to the Bucks, but like the players on the field and the coaches, I don't know. There's no clear difference.
Okay, Brett Maher has a cannon, dude.
Hey, nobody's talking about this, but I'm telling you, I think this matters in this game.
He has in 2018 he had a 62-yarder, in 2019 he had a 63-yarder, and this year he had a 60-yarder.
Yeah.
Dang, I did not realize that. He has 9 field goals. He has 9 for 11 on field goals over 50 plus.
Tampa Bay has
Ryan Suckup is 2 for 7. Yeah, he's a better kicker.
Tampa Bay has scored over 20 points only twice since week 8 against Cincinnati, which they got all those points real quick. And then
I don't think any of this matters. I really don't, because I think Tampa is getting. I don't think the reason I don't think it matters is I think Tampa is getting healthy at the exact right time. I think.
So you think we're going to see their offense perform like they did against Carolina, like a 30-point game?
Yeah,
because Carolina's got a good defense.
I don't think
that wasn't a scrub game.
I don't think it'll be as good as it has been the past 2 years, obviously. But I think that I think that it could perform like one of the top, like a top 15 offense, and not like a bottom 5 offense. I think that everything is coming together for Tampa at the right time, and it would not surprise me at all if they made a run to at least the NFC Championship game, especially if they get San Francisco as their second round matchup, because I think they match up with San Francisco better than any other team in the NFC. I think that the one team that San Francisco does not want to see in a second round matchup is Tampa.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Margot.
This is our I think this is our one first significant disagreement on this, because we've
Yeah,
been pretty much in alignment on all the other ones.
well, I will tell you this. So like, just from like, because this is sort of supposed to be about betting and sports betting and things like that. I would say that this is a real clear stay away. There's a prop that I like in the game. Actually, there's two props I like in the game. I think it's a real clear stay away. I agree with you that they're getting healthy, which is evident in one of the props that I did mention to you earlier this week, which is Tom Brady passing yards leader for the weekend. Mm-hmm. But it's not this. There's nothing really convincing me one way or the other. I think that the way to look at the game, though, is to like, it's going to be in the details. Like, is Jensen playing? Mm-hmm. Who's got the better kicking game? If the Bucks can't score over 20 points, then the kicks will matter if it's a close game. It's going to be.
I think if the Bucks
be three, if Suckup goes 3 for 4 and Meyer goes 4 for 4, I could see a 3-point win for the Cowboys on the merits of that one field goal.
I'll say this. I'll say if the Bucks don't score 20 points, they lose. I think they're going to have to score. I don't think they're going to be able to win this in a low score.
Dallas has too many. Like, there's not, like you said, it's basically like CeeDee Lamb is the main playmaker, and then of course Tony Pollard, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Dalton Schultz
from them. But I think like the overall, they can spread the ball around a lot better than the Bucks can. It's pretty much two guys for the Bucks. And only because they continue to push it to Leonard Fournette, who is good, not great. And they didn't really give Rachaad White enough run in the season, I don't think. Although I think he was the better running back and should have taken the job in week 8.
I agree with that. 100%, actually. I think Rachaad White is a better running back at this point in their career.
Brady's a big, which is weird to me that because of the way his career began, Brady seems to be big proponent of like earn it. You know what I mean? And like earn your stripes. Mm-hmm. And I think like he rides guys a little too long, and that he just is a big believer in Leonard Fournette because he's the older, more mature running back. But
I think Tom has this thing where like if you've rode with me in the past and we've had success, I'm gonna give you every opportunity possible to keep whatever job you have.
How small was that sample size too? Because Fournette was bad in the season, but he came on in the playoffs, and so it's like. Which is when it matters for Brady. Like Brady doesn't care how you do during the season.
And honestly, like if you just want to look at this like from an analytic standpoint, that's probably a blind spot that Tom has. He probably does hold on to guys too long. But the way he probably views it is that like the locker room benefit, like the team chemistry benefit of doing it that way probably outweighs any analytical edge that you might get from, having a higher turnover. Mm-hmm. Of course, whenever he played for the Patriots, Bill Belichick, his philosophy is like the total opposite of that. Like as soon as a guy got a little bit expensive, he would just throw him away.
Yeah. Well, he knew who he could do what with a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I love that he had this trend, it seemed like, where whenever a guy became a problem, and I remember it happening because I love Jamie Collins, he just traded him to the Browns.
Yeah.
You don't want to be happy here? That's fine.
And the
hate your life then. Go live in Cleveland and never win.
and then he comes back to New England. It's like, oh, he's playing great and everything. And then it's like, nope, you can leave again. And where are you going to go this time? Detroit. so
At the time, now it'd be like pretty neat.
Yeah. But it's like it's like, okay, you get to be in New England, you get to be in Foxborough, and you're loving everything. And it's like then you go to the two crappiest cities in America. That's your consolation prize is Cleveland and Detroit. Have you ever seen the YouTube video of it's like a Cleveland tour guide like advertisement or something like that, and like the tagline for the tourism site is Cleveland, we're not Detroit. That's like
I have not seen that.
It's like
my favorite.
I'll show you after we get done recording. It's really funny.
My favorite is the gosh, I can't find it right now, but there was like a picture and it just said the unscented candle. It's called the Cleveland. It's just like
all right. I think we're good on the NFC playoffs. Okay.